Hi there, I'm Paul Uhrig, and once again, welcome to Mark My Words, which is a podcast that's offering glimpses into alternative paradigms that hide just beneath the surface of everyday life, where our first question of the day is always, what if? And we are also welcoming back Mark Cornelius, the author of RUT Management, and we're getting ready to dig a little bit deeper into not only his book, RUT Management, Discovering Adventure in the Routine of Life, but talk about what Mark feels in terms of experiences with being in a rut, experiencing it himself along with other folks, and just how does one deal with what they can feel with rut from a not so much from a negative standpoint, but from a positive standpoint, kind of like stay in the course. And we had already addressed what's my rut. So I'm thinking that today, when I introduce Mark, we're going to ask Mark, what if someone else changes your rut? So Mark, I'm going to pass this over to you. Welcome, Mark. This is Mark Cornelius, the author of RUT Management.
Well, howdy, hi, and thanks a lot, Paul. And as a matter of fact, this segment we're going to split into two, and the first part of it is going to be about sharing your rut. And that's really important because in chapter 6 of the book, one of the things that's noted is that you're not in a rut alone. I mean, you're not just out there in your own path and saying, look at all those other people going off different directions. They're not with me. There's a very prominent phenomenon where people share a rut, at least temporarily, and it helps both. Or, as we will find out in episode 7, hint, hint, that it might interfere with your rut. So we're going to go with that, and I'm going to throw out a teaser. Maybe I'm going to throw out a teaser here. Tell me if I get it here. I guess I'm going to have to go to another screen here. There it is. Sorry about that. And Paul, I'm going to ask you if you agree with this or not. To successfully work with other people, you have to trust each other. A big part of this trusting of people is to get their work done wherever they are without supervision.
Hey there, Mark. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I believe that there's a great deal of trust that's involved in any relationship, be it a working relationship, a romantic relationship, a lifelong relationship, a friendship from even earlier days. Once again, we have to accept the fact that trusting people can come and go at different times. I think there's an old saying about trust but verify. A lot of times in business, I know that we kind of run into some of those things. And the trusting someone to do their job or do something for you, or say you're doing something for them, their expectations, we definitely want to think about supervision. And the whole notion of supervision to me means that sometimes the folks need to be able to ask questions.
Well, and that's to me, this, and I can see why it was anonymous. Somebody didn't want to put their name on this one because they're basically trying to tell others, leave me alone. I'm fine. I'll work with you, but don't get in my way. And when you're in a rut, you've got to have a cooperative, not just a trusting, but a cooperative relationship where you're sharing information. Trust, as you say, trust and verify. So I had a little trouble with this one. I'm going, oh boy, there's something bubbling on down underneath that quote. So I think that's where we wanted to start. And I wanted to talk about that because in a rut, when we're in a rut, we're looking at a, hold on here. I will get to exactly, I skipped over it. There we go. There we go. If you can see the map, one of the things that happens is that you're defining not only your wannabe and starting to walk that, but other people with similar ruts or that you encounter along the way are going to say, hey, let me jump into that. Or I might be going along and see somebody doing something very similar, or trying to accomplish the same things I am. And I say, I want to jump into that. Well, to do that, you have to have a pretty strong relationship with those people. And hey, Paul, like you and I, we have to know that this is something we want to share, and that there's a greater good that comes out of our walking that same path. If we don't, it's a disaster, because you can say, hey, I'm just doing this because I have this other agenda over here, and I'm going to get Paul to get all messed up in this and try to convince him that my agenda is better than his agenda. Well, that's not really cooperation. That's a intimidation. So that being said, I'm going to tell a little story, and this is one that is a personal memory for me that had both its triumph and, I'll warn you up front, a little bit of emotion attached to it. I have had a cousin who was very close to me. We didn't start off that way. We lived in separate areas of the country. We talked now and again at family reunions. Everything was fine. But in our 30s, something really interesting started happening at my grandmother's funeral. And we just started talking about what we wanted to do and accomplish in life. Shared some of the things we had accomplished, and just shared in the way of fun and direction. And Doug and I became fast friends, so much so that we kept regular communication. We met frequently. My cousin-in-law, his wife, and my wife just really hit it off. We all did. So it became a really special relationship. We would meet at places, we would talk about things, we would cut up, all the things you do. And we talked about careers and where we're going, and shared our ups and downs. It was wonderful. Then at about, I guess it was in the mid-50s, age, not time. Not back in the 1900s, but in the mid-50s, Doug contracted cancer. Now it was manageable and everything was fine, and we just kind of followed along. It was one of those things that there was treatment for. About 6 years ago, and by the way, as this all developed, I might as well just throw in the terminology. I'm sure some of you have had this kind of thing happen. You meet somebody who becomes more family to you than you ever realized. I've never had a brother. I didn't have a brother growing up. I had two sisters. Doug became suddenly my brother. He had a brother, but he acknowledged to me, he said, you're as close as my brother to me. So we developed a very tightly knit relationship. So about 6 years ago, we had a family reunion. And at that family reunion, Doug opened up and said, been to the oncologist. Cancer has come out of remission. Doesn't look good. So this was prostate cancer, stage 4. And we all were, obviously struck by that and wanted to walk through it. He pulls me aside at that meeting or at that gathering and said, okay, Mark, you're going to do my funeral. You're going to handle the funeral and the service. And in typical Mark fashion, I said, hell no, I'm not going to do that. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to do that. I couldn't. I mean, you're too close to me. I couldn't do that. He said, no, you're going to do it. I want you to do it. And in the meantime, I want us to explore as much about our relationship and where we're headed with this as possible. And I want to know more about your relationship with God. And that struck me. So we walked that path together, and we talked about it, and we continued to meet, and we continued to get to know each other on even a deeper level, walking that rut. And as morbid as it sounds, his destination was pretty well mapped out. We knew where this was headed. It was just a when, not a where. And so 2.5 years ago, he passed away. And I did do the service, and we had an amazing time, because what we were able to do at that service and with the people who gathered was share in a mutual rut that really none of us knew we had. It was a commonality of Doug, who had brought us together, and he had walked out his path, and we had walked it with him. And it unified us in a very wonderful way. Doesn't always work that way. There are people, and we'll talk about this in our next segment, who will invade your rut or will create a rut and draw people into it, and it's an absolute misery. This one was not. And the reason it was not was because we spoke about it, we talked about it, we sought it out together. So in a rut, when you have somebody who's close to you, make sure that you're talking about those wannabes, those things, if you'll remember when we talked about them before, and maybe if I'm smart enough here, I can pull those up. Hold on here. We're gonna go here, and we're gonna check on the wannabe section. Sorry, takes me a little bit. Here we go. Oh, of course I didn't. Oh, there we go. So, in your RUT wannabe, I'm going to pull that up full screen. This is, last time we talked about this, Paul, we talked about how this is a personal quest, right?
Absolutely.
And these are the things you should ask yourself. But sometimes you're going to ask these same things as a group. If you're going along the same path, you talk about what you all or both want to do and you want to be. What was so cool and exciting and inspiring about the dream that led to that? That's when Doug and I first started really getting close at my grandmother's funeral and to his funeral. Remembering what caused you to want to have that relationship, and then what did you do back then to act out that part? Together, we decided we were going to take a course of life. And it made me and him feel closer and deeper. And it brought us to a much better and higher place. So in that rut, it sounds like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a wonderful relationship. Well, there were some times when it wasn't wonderful, when each of us had problems and issues, shared and unshared. But we worked those two together, and we walked those together because it was important to us to do so. So I say that. How are we doing on time, by the way?
Actually, we're quite a bit over, but it doesn't really matter because That story is fascinating, Mark, and it sounds like you added something in there with your trust and cooperation, and of course, the element of communication is the
Yeah.
key, and that's what you folks were, to my taste, you folks were doing quite well, and that too goes so along with time. It comes and goes with time, doesn't it? Speaking of
Right
which,
now, you gotta keep me honest on this stuff. So I
well,
say that because there's some stuff in here that we'll talk about next time. Okay, this is gonna be session 7, then session 8. We'll push that other stuff out to session 8. So, but
absolutely. That's all good. Mark, do you have something that, some way that we can communicate with you? Do you have something you can pop up on
I
your screen there
do,
to
sure I
give us a little
do.
bit?
Okay, yes I do. And hold on here. I'm going to share that screen and then we're going to get to, hold on here. Look at that. I'm getting better at this. Okay.
You sure are.
So, they can contact me. Hey, they can even talk to you, Paul, because I'll share this with you in our RUT. But
Excellent.
there you go. Email us or me at markcwrites@gmail.com. There's a Facebook page where you can communicate, and also we can then dialogue back and forth with other people. If you're interested in the book RUT Management or other books that are out there along the lines of critical thinking and what if, go to www.rutmanagement.com. And then if you want to review these episodes, go to our YouTube page because there's a lot there. We love your reactions, love your questions, love your thoughts on things. Always remember, we're looking for the what-ifers out there who are willing to critically think and not dismiss things, but explore the potential.
Excellent, Mark. I sure do appreciate that. And we'll go ahead and end our episode today by saying hopefully everyone will have a grand day, a grand week. And you've been watching and viewing Mark My Words. You've been listening to Mark Cornelius, the author of RUT Management. Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And with that, I bid you adieu.
All righty.
Hold
And
on
we'll
here.
just,
I say that, but people are still with us until I can get this thing to work. Hold on. Oh, there it is. And okay, so long, everybody.
so long, everyone. See you next time.
There we go.